Hello friends, this is Melanie Dichtinger with the astrology video of the week. Here today, it is August 16th and we go until August 22nd, 2022. So this is the last week of Leo 2022 until August 22nd and started on July 22nd. Virgo will go from August 22nd until September 22nd. All these lovely alignments. The two is a pointer towards duality in my sense, without being a numerology specialist. It's just my intuition and gut sense. So it's about the two versus the one, the branching out, also a bit of a Gemini theme, which will get really big when Mars enters Gemini on August 20th. More about that in a second. And yet 22 adds up to 4, and 4 relates to the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. So the heart connects and unifies where there is division. That is my simple message for the 22, the multiple 22 alignments. Now, what's up with this week? Yes, last week of Leo, and Leo has not disappointed here in the West in terms of nice, warm summer glow, hot but not too hot, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Hardly any wildfires this year. We're super grateful for that. So what's up with the week? Now we are actually this afternoon until the evening, until what's the exact time? 7:22 p.m. The moon will enter Taurus. So in other words, the moon is now void, of course, in Aries. Yeah, a little occasion to explore the whole void, of course, theme. I mentioned that and I pointed out in my daily postings on Facebook and also on the Astro News email newsletter the times when the moon is void, of course, and V-C, V/C, it's the abbreviation. What is that all about? And how does that even apply here and now? Here and now is Aries theme, where the moon is currently. So we're having this window where the moon has made its last aspect to a planet before going into the next sign. And that phase from the last aspect, which was the square to Pluto, I bet. No, it was actually, yes, it was a square to Pluto at 1:18 p.m. And Pluto end of Capricorn, moon end of Aries. So the moon is now sort of hovering in that in these last degrees of Aries before entering a new sign, before moving over the cusp to Taurus, which I call the settling point. So this is like an energy of being somewhat restless, somewhat questing, checking out what else do I need to do before I can sit down and relax even, right? And end of Aries has also a Sag undertone. So take it easy on that note. And often the formula is brought up with void, of course. Nothing comes of that. That's sort of a bit too simplifying and limiting, in my opinion. And so more like the alert or the advice, avoid the void. But I wouldn't say necessarily so. Maybe when there's a combination of void, of course, moon and Mercury retrograde, I would not necessarily start anything that needs to be coming off the ground and having going according to ideas and plans, because there might be still a few loops of thought and feeling that need to be attended to, and of information, of course. Anyway, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Maybe I'm in a void here too. So the next Mercury retro on that note will start also soon on September 9th until October 2nd, and it will go from early Libra until back to late Virgo. So more about that next time. I don't want to cram it all in here. But what are we seeing regarding the moon cycle this week? And then let's take it from there. So yes, the moon goes today into Taurus, and Taurus is a sign where the moon is exalted, where the moon is really very happy because it's a very calm, grounding, nourishing energy that makes us really go to nature, do tend to the body, to good food, slow down, enjoy life, and tune into our senses. So, looking forward to the Taurus moon. However, it's not all as easy peasy with Taurus these days and years, since there's this major, pretty unsettling energy going on in Taurus. And the signature of that is Uranus in Taurus since 2019, met by the North Node this year in Taurus and acutely by Mars on August 1st. I'm sure you heard about it through me or other channels and read about it and felt it. So, what to do when things are pretty unsettled and pretty unstable and disrupted, kicked out of comfort zones, of habits, of anything solid and actually enjoyable. So that might have happened to you as well in many various ways. Hopefully, you navigated well through it and wasn't all too traumatic, which can happen also with Uranus, and shocking. And you could actually also access the side of Uranus that is exciting, renewing, and liberating, and also innovative, and even awakening. So this whole spectrum comes with Uranus, which is now activating Taurus until 2026, 7 years in one sign since 2019, when a lot got disrupted since then. When it comes to bodies, economy, habits, all of the above. Anyway, now with Uranus in Taurus being met by Mars and North Node, that is also a call for breakthroughs into freedom, for paradigm shifts, for completely shifting your view of seeing things, and actually spiritual teachings, just especially Buddhism with its emphasis on suffering being associated with attachment, which Taurus can easily develop, attachment to all the good life and the good things in life, seeing where actually that can lead to suffering in terms of being too attached, basically, right? Not easy to change, but change is inevitable. Change is life. Life is impermanent. And how can change also be good and maybe more freeing in some way? So this is something to explore proactively from the inside out, rather than having it come at you and to you, especially as Uranus will go retrograde next week on the 24th of August until January 23rd, I believe, or 24th. So just a little 23rd, yeah. So a little precursor for that, because Uranus is already going into stationary mode, into turnaround mode. So August is quite the second half, especially is quite the Uranian energy here. When a planet turns around, that archetype becomes really very strong and noticeable in the atmosphere. And so more about that next week. And still what's on this week. So as I said, the moon will be in Taurus as of this evening for the next 2 days, but it will also meet first the North Node, then Uranus, then Mars, and that's all gonna happen on the 18th, 19th, so on Thursday, Friday. Thursday, Friday being in some way a very exceptional, a very unpredictable, a very liberating actually. If you do something that you give yourself permission to move forward on something that really your spirit, your freedom calls you to, and if you can make it an experiment rather than getting attached to the outcome or to the permanence of it, that should be really cool. And what else do we have this week? As I said, the moon is now waning from Aries until to Cancer before the new moon, which will be in Virgo on the 27th. So this week we have a waning moon phase, and in general, the waning moon is good for releasing, for purging, for letting go, and not necessarily for planting seeds. Yeah, you can plant a few garden seeds. That's what I did this morning on the box here in the cedar box, some mustard seeds and some what else did I? Swiss chard. So that's always good for reseeding and keeping it going. And but yet for totally new projects, not necessarily great with the waning moon and with all the retrograde energies already, which will be even more. So we already have 5 planets retro, and the 6th will be Uranus as of next week. The 7th will be Mercury as of September 9th till October 2nd. So that particular window with Mercury retro will be the peak of retro, the summer and early fall with 7 planets. So that's an energy to rather go inward, retreat, connect with these themes that you've experienced on the outside in yourself, and see what it has to do with the inner landscape, with also old patterns of yours that you might act out or reenact or respond to and all that. So all of this, of course, can be explored. If you'd like to tune in astrologically in a session, more customized and very customized to you. So if this calls to you, come to Client Appreciation Month, which is on in August, throughout August. My practice is now 22 years old. Unbelievable. Started in August 2000. I'm so grateful for the continuity and all that I've learned, all that it came from it, all the explorations, all the development of it all, and all the wonderful people I met through it. So at this occasion, I'm celebrating with giving back, and giving back big fat discounts the longer you've been with me, or the longer ago your first session was, the more. So yeah, hit me up on that if that interests you. Anyway, back to this week. So how many minutes are we already going here? Just checking, 13 minutes. Okay, so the highlight of this week is August 20th. That's the day when Mars shifts signs, and it's not just any Mars sign shift. It is from Taurus and to Gemini, but Mars will be in Gemini for a very long time, until March 26th. So that is, what are you having here? 7 months. Seriously, 7 months? September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 7 months. Mars will be 7 months in Gemini. No kidding. And why? Because Mars will go retrograde, of course, and all in Gemini. So it never leaves Gemini, so that extends this whole Gemini Mars effect. And the retro phase will be from October the 30th until January 13th. What's with Mars in Gemini? In general, yeah, also, but in general, in Gemini specifically. I should do a specific video actually about Mars in Gemini and retro phase, so stay tuned for that. This much for now. It's anything Gemini gets activated and stimulated. And so if you have Gemini energy in your chart, be it your sun, your moon, your ascendant, your planets, or even Mars, definitely you get a kick, you get a boost of energy. And what does it mean for all of us? There is a boost for anything Gemini, which is about learning, communicating, but of course also with the Mars effect, debating and controversy. So I bet there'll be more discussions and even heated discussions and controversial. Watch for violent language and verbal attacks with Mars in Gemini. But it's also an energy to get going, be motivated, right? With Mars is the motor, is your energy for learning something, for initiating. Mars rules Aries, right? Initiating anything that has to do with communication, with learning, with studying, with research, with science, with anything we need to know and we need to talk. And it's also about, again, I mentioned Gemini regarding the two before, it's about the alchemy of duality. So, what does that mean? We might notice, I'm sure you do, I do, that a lot of polarization and duality has creeped in the last few years. So, what do we do about it? Says Mars. And now is the time, right? And with retrograde, also to readdress, to reconnect with people where you might have some, uh, separation from, conflict from, with, or also unfinished business and haven't spoken your part in that regard, right? So if you feel like, yeah, I need to tell them this and this is really important, now is the time Mars retrograde. It's also a retreat of the warrior energy at the same time with retrograde. So we might also have more awareness about how language can be and communication can be so divisive and can be so aggressive, and what to do about this. How can we retreat from this and regroup and find a better way? For that, I would very highly recommend the practice of what used to be called non-violent communication, which is now also called known as compassionate communication. So the key is here to, if you feel really like you need to tell this person that and that, to hold your breath a little bit, which is Gemini air sign, and try a different approach. Like, for example, this nonviolent communication one, which would, part one, state what you're noticing, right? So you're noticing this person is overstepping your boundaries, but you're not making a judgment, right? You're actually just stating the facts, right? When you say, so when you are knocking at my door, I noticed you knocked at my door this afternoon. No, how can you notice? Sorry, I noticed. Let's say you knocked at my door and called for me. I heard your voice. I noticed you were knocking. So you're not backing off or escaping, but you're actually addressing the issue, right? So, and this person, let's say this person keeps knocking on your door and they just want stuff from you or whatever. They don't respect your boundaries. That's just an example. And then the second part of nonviolent would be how do you state how you feel when that happens. So you own that. You don't say anything about them, just what happens to you, which is a good practice to also check how you're feeling actually. So let's say when that happened, just I got startled, right? Or I felt some, yeah, I felt interrupted in my process, which is not really a feeling, right? But I felt like out of my um, flow. I was getting out of my flow, and or I felt anxious, right? Which is like really a feeling. It's not even a fact or something. And then here would be your needs. The next level is to state your needs. So my need would be for you to announce yourself rather via knocking, through sending a message on Messenger and checking in with me, because that would give me space, of course, and how to respond rather than feeling somewhat on the, needing to react or ignore, right? So you get the idea. So this would be your need. And then the request would basically be identical in this case, would be, or the need, if you want to be more outspoken about it, is I have a need for privacy, and I have a need for staying in my flow as I go through the day, and I have need for not being interrupted. And so the request would be, so please, can you next time send me a message, and then we can arrange when we meet, right? So that's just a little example for non-violent communication rather than blowing up, getting to the door and being mad at them. So anyway, Mars in Gemini, more about this as I will do a special video about that as we get into the groove of Mars in Gemini, and I also plan to write a blog article about that, you bet. What else is going on? Yeah, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, being now in Virgo, its other ruled sign, will go retrograde soon. So that phase, actually, when Mercury is retrograde on the from the 9th of September till the 2nd of October, and Mars in Gemini, that would be quite interesting. All this Gemini Mercury energy. Now, before that, and during this week, the mercurial highlight of the week and flavor of the week that's kicking in is Mercury opposing Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury in its own sign of Virgo opposing Neptune in its own sign, and retro in its own sign of Pisces. That's going to happen on August 21st, while also Mercury goes into shadow. I'll speak a little bit about that in a second. But the Mercury-Neptune juxtaposition, quite a contrast that calls for bridging these polar opposites. So the idea would be to notice when you're being either in your rational mind, in your practical, concrete consciousness of what's in front of you, what's the problem, what needs to be done about it, and then you go into a flow mode, you go in a dreamy mode, you go into a spaciousness or being spaced out, and whatever. That could be Neptune. A beautiful way of combining the two would be a spiritual practice. Virgo and Mercury is about practice. So doing specifically some work regarding mindfulness, and also taking yourself into a mode where it's easier to notice the mind in its workings and get back into the groove, into the flow of life, and having the mind being more at ease and at the same time very inspired. This is also a great time for artistic endeavors, musical endeavors, and anything that needs the skills and the practice from a Virgo side, but at the same time it's flow. It takes us out of the mundane and out of the nitty-gritty stuff, right? So yeah, Mercury Neptune, actually beautiful. And Mercury goes into shadow on that day too, which is the first phase before going retro. So there's the pre-retro shadow, then the storm, then the actual retro phase, then the post-retro storm, and the post-retro shadow. So what's the shadow? Technically, Mercury, right? The shadow is the phase when Mercury for the first time crosses that degree from which it will go crosses a degree from which it will go forward again at the end of the retro phase, which is like 24 or so Virgo, right? And so that's what Mercury will cross on the 22nd of, on the 21st, sorry, of August on Sunday. And so what does that mean? So often there's a kind of a foreshadowing of themes can be seen in terms of late Virgo in this case, which is double Virgo, which is about alignment. Are things in alignment? Are things out of alignment? What would it take to restore alignment and health, wellness? All of that is Virgo. And more of that will, of course, come up during the Mercury retro phase. After Mercury retro phase, we know more and we are in a different place with what we know. And also with the power we give to the mind, and to not getting totally wrapped up with information, communication, thinking, mind. So maybe what you're fretting over now and where you see problems might not really be a problem in a bigger sense and in hindsight. So, yeah, and then August 22nd as our grand finale of this week and of Leo will be the day when the sun moves from Leo into Virgo, and that is called the Sphinx Point Day. So the sun will enter Virgo at 8. Sorry, the sun will enter Virgo at 8:16 p.m. on Monday the 22nd. So that is the cusp of Leo Virgo. I like to call that. It is called Sphinx Point, and I also like to add to that, it's about self-awareness. It's about putting that strong, confident, radiant Leo self into service and into doing what we love and into noticing what we're doing and being conscious about that, but also to be really in that radiant solar self, and be an expression, a tool, and a tool for the divine, if you will, because the sun is really our life-giving energy. So, so Virgo starts on that day, and at the same time, or on the same day, I should say, Lilith meets Sirius and the moon on that day. Oh my gosh. So, what's up with that? I have a chart for that. If I find it right now, I just thought of that. So, here is the alignment of all three in Sirius, Sun, and nope, that's the other one. I had another one. Lilith, Sirius, and the moon on the 22nd. They will be all in Cancer. Ta-da! Okay, so pointing. Oh, the backward pointing is weird. Here it is. Okay. And so see, they're all lined up at this 14.5 degrees of Cancer in mid-Cancer, where Sirius is. So Sirius is there as a fixed star, right? Always in mid-Cancer. But the moon will be in Cancer on a weekly basis, meeting Sirius. Interesting too. But Lilith is there now. So this is a very strong energy for the divine feminine, for goddess, which is Lilith, and also the goddess that is beyond conditioning and beyond concept, right? It's pure feminine energy, pure feminine life-giving energy with Moon and Lilith, and at the same time also comes with Sirius, and Sirius points to Priestess energy points to Isis in the Egyptian realm, which brings us back to the Sphinx point. Ooh, very juicy. So let's tune in on the 22nd. Would be wonderful to do a ceremony in gratitude for a goddess and priestess energy in your life and being an expression of it. And yeah, 22nd of August 2022, Moon Sirius Lilith Sphinx Day. I leave it with this nice finale and see you again shortly thereafter, aiming again for next Tuesday, the 23rd, which will be the first day of Virgo 2022. Take care. Have a wonderful week. Bye.